How's everybody doing?
All right.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna do a quick presentation, and then we're gonna get started. It's not gonna take any more than 15 minutes, and I'm sure more people are going to be pouring in as I'm talking. So we'll just keep it going, but just give everybody a little background on how this all got started. The last time we did one of these online conversations, we had spoke. Jay, what's up, brother?
Hey, what's up?
Last time we did one of these online conversations, we had spoke about online dating, whether we like it or hate it. And following that conversation, a few of us met for dinner, and we began to talk, and we started to talk about like what we were talking about, different things, mostly online dating, and then that conversation kind of bridged to if we have a list or not. And I don't know who brought up. It might have been Nikki. I think it might have been Nikki. Was it you, Nikki, who brought it up? Somebody had introduced the topic of lists and do you have a list? And I didn't have a list at the time, but I walked away from the conversation feeling like I should probably create a list. And so that's what I did. And yeah, so I hope, so that's what this conversation is going to be about. It's going to be about everyone's list. We have a lot of people in here, so we're going to try to get through. I'm going to try to get through this presentation relatively quickly, and then we're going to try to get through everybody quickly. And I think that we're going to hear a lot of common threads and a lot of common themes as we go along, because I'm sure a lot of the men are going to have a lot of similar things on their list, and a lot of the women are going to have similar things on their list. So that's really what this is going to be about, just learning what the other sex wants, and then probably going from there. How does that sound, y'all?
Sounds great.
All right, y'all, we're going to get started here. Marco, we ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. I'm going to share my screen. Y'all bear with me too if it takes me a second. I'm still figuring out technology. Let's see here. I'll do a share screen. I'm going to share the full screen. Oh no. Oh, you can share just the presentation. I'm going to do that. Okay. Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see if I can. Just one now?
Yeah, it's one now.
Okay, I had too much going on. All right, y'all, we'll get started. So, Dope Conversations presents, what are you looking for in a partner? Do you have a list? Let me see. Oh, I got to let Jennifer in. Marco, can you let people in? Are you able to let people in on your end?
Let me see.
Oh, I got it.
Oh, you got it.
I think I just one person that left out and weren't able to get back in. So, what I want to start this conversation off with just saying is like, what's happening, what's going on with relationships in the Black community. Many of you know the name of this group is Positive Black People Link Up, and I'm really concerned with the state of relationships. I think somebody who just came in might have to mute your mic, but I'm really concerned with the state of Black relationships. And there's been a lot going on today. We hear a lot of things from different people, and people are trying to figure out. Let's see here. I gotta figure out. Y'all mute y'all mic if y'all aren't. Let's see here. Mute. Okay. We got you. Yeah, if you're not speaking right now, mute your mic. Marco, you might be good because I don't think you have a speaker. No. So you're good. So what's going on in relationships in the Black community? And let's see here. We're going to go through the history. Okay. So currently, Black people are marrying less. We're marrying less than any other group of people. Let's see here. So among Black people, 30% of us are married. 50% of us have never been married. Among Black men, 33% of us have been married. 33% of us are married. 52% of us have never been married. Black women, 27%, and 48% never married. And amongst all populations, 48% are married and 34% are not married. So as y'all can see, that's pretty sobering statistics. And I guess we're going to get into it a little bit later in this presentation, but marriage matters, and it's integral. So the fact that as a Black community, we're kind of lagging behind the other groups, it's going to have some consequences down the road, I believe. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about the benefits of marriage and stuff like that. Let's see here. So a little bit tracking the history. Now, mind y'all, some of this is objective and some of this is my opinion on how things got to this way they are. but we're going to go through it here. Let's see here. So history, what happened to Black marriage after the 1960s? As y'all can see from this chart here, prior to the 1960s, Black women, and there's another slide, there's another chart here for Black men. We were both married far more than the other groups. We were married far often. Then in the 1960s, something changed. And what changed was what we have here on the left. In the 60s, the passage of civil rights legislation happened. And let's see here. Oh, we gotta click here. So after the passage of the civil rights legislation, Black men and women, we were no longer fighting together. We no longer had like common issues. The main thing that we were looking at was like race issues. So we were kind of like a unit. And then, you know, with the civil rights legislation passed, race supposedly was solved. So, you know, that happened. And that was in the 60s. That was mid 60s going into the 70s when the civil rights legislation passed. In the 70s through the 80s, we see the second wave of feminism. And we're going to explain what that is in a second here. So 70s and 80s, with the race issues resolved, a lot of Black women embrace second wave feminism. And we're going to talk about that on next slide. But just a short little brief note on what second wave feminism is. Second wave feminism broadened feminism to include a wider range of issues: sexuality, family, the workplace. It was a movement that was focused on critiquing patriarchal or male-dominated institutions and cultural practices throughout the society. So this is on the women's end. And on the men's end, in the 80s and through the 2000s, we see the war on drugs happen and mass incarceration. See, so, and with both of these, this reduced the number of marriageable Black men in the community. So if there was less men to choose from, women had less options. So it's two-tier. It's not just one or the other. One's not to blame. It's a multifaceted dynamic that happened to the Black community after the 60s. So it's going to take a multi-pronged approach, I think, to start fixing some of these issues. What do you think so far, Marco? I'm on target?
No, you good.
All right. Any questions from anybody before we move on? Commentary? All right, we're gonna keep it pushing. Let's see here. So the problem that second wave feminism produced in the Black community. So this is a well-known feminist, Brittany Cooper. She recently tweeted this: "We don't need traditional nuclear families for Black thriving. As one raised by my mother, grandmother, and aunts, I can attest, we should support families however they are configured to provide basic needs in the loving and safe environments. That's what being pro-Black family means." And I think my real issue with Brittany's statements was we don't need traditional nuclear families for Black thriving, but all data seems to suggest quite the opposite. And that's not only with the Black community, that's with all communities that are where nuclear families are present, those communities thrive. So a lot of this this "I don't need a man" mentality came out of the second wave of feminism. And feminism on its own, I consider myself a feminist if we're talking about like voting rights, we're talking about legal protections under the law, stuff like that. But when you start to broaden feminism to include other things, it's kind of where it starts to get a little murky, and it kind of went too far in the Black community, I think. But so we're gonna ask the question: was Brittany Cooper right, or are Black feminists like Brittany Cooper right? So one data point by the CDC suggests that Black men are the most involved fathers. Let's see here. Numerous studies conclude that children from two-parent households have better outcomes than those from single-parent households. Another study suggests that married people live longer. This is men and women, but especially men. Men who are married live on average 69 months longer than men who are not married. So we're talking years. Let's see, I'm gotta let Jen in. Let's see how I do that. I gotta move that. Oh, is that decline or accept? Okay, there we go. I'm going to admit Jen in. And married people are economically more successful than their single counterparts. This is where group economics come into play. You're pooling your resources so you're able to do more, and you're able to create generational wealth. When you have more resources and you can do more, you can buy real estate, you can have a house, you can pass. You're having children, you can pass that down. You have assets that you're passing down to your children. But if you're just a single man or a single woman and we're not, we're not having children, we're not pooling our resources, we're not practicing group economics, we're lagging behind. So that's a lot of the issues that's happening right now in the Black community that we see. So let's see here. So how do we fix this? Marco, how do we fix this, man? How do we fix this? This is just a little history, y'all. We're gonna get into our list. I know I kind of took y'all on a little bit of a tangent, but I felt like context was important.
I mean, how do we fix this? I mean, I guess find that suitable partner.
Yeah.
For one, I think that's like the main way to fix it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
I agree.
Other than that, I mean, what do you think?
So I had some suggestions here. Let me get Jennifer Glover. Any thoughts on how do we fix this? Not the issues I mentioned before, but just I guess some of the issues I mentioned before, not necessarily the feminist piece, but more so Black relationships.
I think the I don't need or we don't need was born out of necessity of having to do it by yourself. And the validation of you don't need this or that, it did the same thing for morality as, keep calm and carry on did in World War II. Like it just keeps people, gives them something to hope for and kind of validates their experience. How do we fix it? I think it needs to have more open, honest conversations, because right now I feel like we're both not to say binary, but people are all dealing with really old caricatures of who the other side is, and that keeps us kind of afraid. At least for me, it does. I still very much it's hard for me to still think of or believe that men are wanting relationships and wanting to build something, because I've heard the exact opposite for so long. In my late 30s, it's like, okay, yeah, Jen, you might have like a 22-year-old person in you're envisioning, but give the other side some slack that they might be maturing at the same rate that you are. So it's risk taking, because you're putting yourself out there, you put your heart out there, and so kind of how do we make ourselves less afraid? And I think making safe places for us to be vulnerable and letting people see us.
I agree. Great commentary, Jennifer. Thank you. I just threw up some suggestions, but I don't think any of them was as profound or thought out as Jennifer's. But I just said we got to let go of ways of thinking that are holding us back. We have to do some self-evaluation. We also have to we may have to do some self-improvement. And we have to realize what the opposite sex is looking for. And that's what this next slide is going to kind of be about. Let's see here. So men, we have to ask ourselves, what is it that women are looking for? Let's see if I can put this on the side. There we go. What is it that women want, and find out if we qualify for what it is that they want. So this data comes from the powermoves.com, and I guess they did like a research poll of people who were kind of out there on the dating market, and they found that for women, this first chart here is what women look for in men in the short term. So is everybody kind of taking that in, especially fellas? This is for us, fellas. This is right here. So in the short term, initially, according to data, looks like 35%, like women look at looks 35% of the time. So that's ranked high up there. So it's contrary to popular belief by some men today, women looks do matter to women, because you often hear that out there, like that a guy's looks don't matter. Like a lot of guys think they can just kind of not take care of themselves, look any kind of way, and then they're just going to find a suitable partner. But that's just not the case, especially in the short term. They think that all you need is just to have money, and that's going to get you a quality mate, but that's not necessarily the case. A lot of women want a guy who looks good, or at least looks attractive for them. Game's an important factor too, it shows. And I guess game is just like your soft skills, like how do you talk to them, what's your, are you stumbling over your words when you first meet a woman? Y'all know what game is. I don't have to explain it. Okay, so that's for the short term. Let's see here. For the long term, we see that there's a shift that happens from the long term, like when we're talking about marriage and what women are looking for. This is when resources start to kick in a little more, guys. This is where, when a woman's looking at you for marriage, your resources are going to matter more than your looks. Whereas looks before were 35%, now it's 15%. So it's a little more than 10%. But resources have went from 6%. Women initially didn't really care, what your resources were like in the short term. But for long term, now your resources matter more, up to 27%. Game matters a little less. Your personality matters a little more. Status, age, and looks. So this is where we're at. Let's see here. When it comes to selecting a long-term mate, women do value men with resources. That's just what it is, guys. That's just what it is. I don't think we should shame women. It makes sense to me, if women want a man with money, because they, that should be okay. It's biology. Okay, so for women, what do men want? Same, this comes from the same website, y'all. Let's see here. So initially in the short term, I know our chart looks crazy. Jennifer's nodding her head. And 80% men overwhelmingly choose, what did I write down here? During the getting to know her phase, men overwhelmingly choose women based off of looks. So we're looking 80% of the time, what we're looking at, or 80% of our mental equation, our mental math when we're selecting women in short term is looks. And all the other factors kind of pale in comparison. The closest, let's see here, the closest one is game. And then game and age. And then all the other things are just, it's almost fractional compared to the 80%. Does that sound, Marco, does that sound right? Does 80%, like in the short term when you're initially like choosing women, what do you think? 80% does seem about right?
Yeah, that seems about right.
I agree. Jay, 80%, that seem about right? You're on mute, but I think you agree. Nod your head if you agree. Yep, Jay agrees. I can't see, I will get everybody else in here, but I can only see a few people on screen right now. All right, let's see. For long term, this is where I'm wondering if there's going to be some difference among the men and what we think about this in the long term. When it comes to marriage and long-term commitment, men begin to value other things more, such as a woman's age and her faithfulness. And I look at this and I absolutely agree with this. Like for a man who's marriage-minded, like looks become less of a factor, and you begin to look at other things, like especially if you're a man. I think for the age thing is for men who want children. And then you don't want, men begin to look at other things besides looks. So what do you think, Mark? You think that it changes? Like, do you think that as a man begins to look for long-term partners, that it goes from, our looks matter a little less and other things matter more?
I agree with that.
What you think, Jay? You agree with that?
That looks, yeah, men are very visual.
Right.
Yeah, I think I was on mute. Yeah, men are very visual. I think everybody's visual, but men are very visual.
Do you think that it changes as we age and we begin to look for if we're looking for like a long-term relationship or marriage? Do you think that we value looks less, or we
Maybe
prioritize other things higher?
Slightly less, and then personality comes into play.
Right.
Depending on, it depends on the relationship you're looking for. Not everybody's looking for a serious commitment, but if you're looking for that serious commitment, the compatibility comes into play. Personality, compatibility.
Right. Yeah, everybody's looking for different things. So I think a guy who's younger may value age more than a guy who's older and doesn't really want children. So it just depends on the man and where he's at in life. So we're going to move on here. Let's see. Okay. So what are you looking for, and do you have a list? So we're about to start the conversation. So this is okay. I'm going to start first, y'all. And this is my list. I didn't have, mind you, when we did this conversation over dinner, I didn't really have much of a list at all. But I sat down and I really began to think about it. And I even wrote at the bottom, I know the reason I'm single is because I'm picky. So before I even drop my list, I acknowledge my pickiness. So I don't want to be judged. This is going to be a judgment-free zone, a judgment-free conversation, but we're going to have it, all right? So my list, and I put it in order of priority, and I really thought long and hard about it, okay? So I have 15 items on my list. The top 10 are things that I'm not really that flexible on. The bottom 5 are things that I'm flexible on. So the number one thing for me is loyal, faithfulness, and is a person committed to me. That's number one. Number 2 is she God-fearing or have a strong moral compass or high integrity? And they all kind of gel and mesh together in my mind. Number 3 is she a helpmate? Is she cooperative? Is she supportive? Number 4 is attraction, and I like curvy women. That's just what I like. So that's number 4 for me. And then I put the little asterisk for makeup, like is she like not hideous without makeup? Like that's important to me. Like, how do you look when you come out the shower? You know what I mean? Because a lot of women, they look good with makeup, but you may take a makeup off and you're like, what in the world?
That contour witchcraft.
Yeah. It's something, man. You know what? It feels like witchcraft a lot of times. Like, whoa. I done been shocked a few times, with that. But I know that nobody's perfect here, and I know I'm no Denzel or nothing like that. But as long as like I'm not like scared when you don't have no makeup on, I need to who am I seeing 90% of the time when you're just walking around the house?
You.
Right. So number 5 for me is someone who matches my effort and reciprocity. I feel like that's important. With a lot of dating, from my experience, I don't feel like a lot of women are matching effort and reciprocity. I don't know. Or maybe I'm just not interpreting or seeing what they're doing. Let's see here. Number 6, I think number 6 is respects and or admires me. Number 7 is someone who's family oriented and less career oriented. I don't mind someone being career oriented as long as they're more family oriented. Number 8 is wants children, wants to build a legacy, keeping in mind generational wealth, because that's what I want to do. Number 9 is someone who's go ahead. Oh, who's there? Somebody say something.
You ready?
Okay, somebody go ahead. Somebody have something for me? She might have been talking to somebody else, but I'll keep it going. Number 9 is domestic, knows how to take care of a home. Now, I'm not saying that I just want to be sitting back, not doing anything, but I think it's important. I don't mind sharing like house chores, but like you have to be able to like do that too. It can't be one-sided. And that's a huge thing for me because I'm a clean individual, so I need that in my life. Number 10 is someone who's not slothful, who's physically and mentally active. And I put Proverbs 31 because if you read the description of a Proverbs 31 woman, a lot of it's talking about her like ingenuity, her not really being like a lazy type person, just someone who's kind of like, somebody who's like an asset more so than a liability. Things I'm flexible on, I would like someone with no children, but I'm flexible on that. If I met the right person, I can bend on the children thing. I would like somebody who's Black conscious, who thinks Black, who cares about Black issues. That's something I'm also flexible on. I want someone who has little to no debt, or if they have a lot of debt, they manage it well, because I know some people are in business and they have business debt. So that's a different type of thing. Number natural hair. I don't say natural hair. Everybody has natural hair, but somebody who wears natural hairstyles frequently. That's kind of what I prefer. But I can bend on that. It's not a big thing, as long as you have hair. You know what I mean? Height, I would prefer someone who's shorter than me, 5 feet to 5'5". I'm 6 feet for context, but I can bend on that too. Like if I meet someone who's, I don't know, who's my height, I mean, I can bend on it. Somebody who's taller, if it's the right person. So I'm flexible on things, but the bottom 5 is really my preference. And the top 10, the bottom 5 are things that I'm flexible on, and the top 10 are kind of things that I'm non-flexible on. So Marco, what do you think of my list? Is it crazy? Is it a little too much?
I don't really have a problem with it, to be honest with you.
Ladies, is my list crazy?
Can I say something?
Go ahead. Who is that? Who's speaking?
It's me, Chelsea. Hi.
Hey, Chelsea.
Hey. No, it sounds like you want a housewife, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Do you want like a stay-at-home wife?
I could go for that. But I can also have someone who may like have a career, but long as she's family oriented and she knows how to take care of a home, you know. She doesn't have to be in the house, but if she wanted to, that's cool with me. But if she didn't want to, that's cool with me too, you know. But I think the thing that as long as she can kind of like be, you know, family and like, you know, what's going on in the house is like a top priority versus career. Cause I feel like a lot of times, and I think Jennifer almost kind of spoke on it earlier when she was speaking about like women having to kind of step up out of necessity. A lot of women have really, I feel like today have become really career oriented more than they, you know, I feel like the thing, you know, family's kind of taking a back seat a lot of times. So yeah, I kind of want somebody who's more family oriented, but you know, she doesn't have to be a housewife. I don't have a demand that she be a housewife, but long as like, you know, the house and the family's like, you know, a priority for her. Go ahead, Sadie. You have to unmute. Yeah.
Yeah, mute. Yeah.
First of all, I want to say thank you for sharing your list. I'm an older woman, as I guess you might all can tell. I'm a little older than some of the listeners in today, and to hear you share your list and how that foundation of how I grew up, you know, a man being a strong man and wanting to share his life with a woman that has those qualities and backgrounds of being, you know, family oriented and also being, you know, good homemakers and having a career is okay, but it's not something that you're more after a woman. You know, a lot of men today looking for a woman that has a certain amount of financial stability, and they can care less about the other qualities of a woman. I mean, so I'm listening at what you're saying, and just kind of looking back at my life, and I could probably share a lot with my life because I'm an older woman. I'm a divorcee, and just knowing when I was younger, looking into relationships when you're younger, you kind of, yes, you look for the good looking man. You're looking at certain things on the outward appearance of a person, but as years go on, sometimes those things change. And so for me, as a, you know, an older woman, yes, you know, you want that good looking man. You don't want him to keep himself up just the same as he wants a woman to. But as years go on and you become an older person, you know, those things change, and you're looking for someone that's more committed to staying together with you. Because let's be for real, as you get older as a man, you lose your hair, that bald spot starts to come.
Yeah, I got some
You know, a woman
coming in.
your rays coming in, you know, you could start thinning out. And so that the looks and the attraction it should always stay the same. That's my opinion. If you meet someone and you fall in love with them and they're that right person for you with all the qualities that you're looking for, then you have to know, yes, you may meet at 20 or 25, maybe 30 years old, but you got a long life ahead of you where both of you are going to change. She's not going to look the same. She may, you know, stay fit, but she's still going to change in so many areas. And we have to be mindful of that as we look into relationships, and especially long relationships, not short term. We want to make sure that when we get involved for a permanent relationship with someone, that we're looking for, you know, whatever comes with that person, because they're going to change. So you have to make sure that you're looking for the right thing, the right person with the right qualities. So if something happens and they change, you still can love them for who they are within their heart. And so that's, you know, I just want to say thank you for sharing that, because you seem like you got some good things that you're sharing with the group today. And me being older doesn't matter, because I still have those same qualities. I still have those same desires as you have on your list and more. So I just want to say thanks.
Oh, wow. You know, I that was refreshing, and thank you for saying that, because I really thought I would be judged for my list, because I'm not going to lie, I judge when I hear women have this long list. I judge it. I'm like, man, what's going on here? But then as I wrote out what I really want, I have this list, and I felt like I would be judged tonight. So I am happy, especially you Sadie, being an older lady. or more seasoned, let me say that,
Yes.
you're able to say, look, it's not, it's not what you want is not necessarily bad, and and you find some aspects of what I'm looking for to be refreshing. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Nivea,
I have a question. I mean, a comment.
we're gonna let I think hold on, we're gonna let Nivea go, and then whoever was speaking, we're gonna let you go. I think Nivea had her hand raised first. Go ahead, Nivea.
Hi, it's Neva actually.
Neva, I'm
So
sorry.
it's okay. So one of the things that as I was listening, and I was have to agree with the last person. Thank you for sharing your list. I think one of the things that I feel a little bit, I won't say challenged, or and I'm not. It's not a place of judgment. I think it's just a place of understanding about how things are, and what people think that they want versus how things literally are in the world right now. So when I see you say, hey, you want someone that's marriage minded, you want someone that helps you to build legacy, you want someone that is supportive and things like that. I think in order to have generational wealth, unless you are doing it completely by yourself, that woman, she's got to have a balance of being a career person and a family person. So just be thoughtful about what are those trade-offs that you're willing to make, because you said, hey, I want someone to do these things, but then they also have to do these things. And I'm speaking as a person, as a female who's in business. And in order for me, myself, to get to where I have gotten to business, statistics will show you that Black women have to work a lot harder than our counterparts to get to some of those same areas and to accumulate the same type of financial stability. So it's not necessarily that we don't want to also be family oriented. I'm very family oriented. But in order for me to reach the success that I have had in business, I had to be really focused, and I had to beat out a lot of white men in order to represent myself in my workplace. And I just think about that when you're talking about doing some of those things. So that's my only little tidbit, but thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Nivea. Neva, I'm sorry. Yeah, and I agree with you, a lot of what you said. But I think somebody asked me a question, at least early on, like, do I want like a housewife? And like I said, I'm more flexible on a woman who can kind of do both. I think any man would be okay with a woman who can do both. I mean, that's an okay thing. And then second part is, I think it's going to depend on the man. Like, we're talking about building generational wealth. Some people are, depending on the man, it's going to be different. Like, if a guy is, depending on where he's at in life, what career what's his job, or, like how much money he's bringing in, he making like shoulder it all himself, where some guys, they may look for someone who's more of a domestic partner, somebody who can kind of bring, as much or, a little less than what he's bringing to the table. I think it's going to be different for every guy. But yeah, I can only speak for myself, and I think I know I can be okay doing it on my own, and I can be okay having a partner too. I mean, I think having a partner, we're talking about financially, I can get to where I want to go faster, but I'm still going to get to where I want to go. But I think it's just, every man is going to be different. Every man has different, what in terms of criteria and what they're looking for, and what they need or what they're expecting a woman to do financially. So it depends on the man. Somebody else was trying to get in earlier. I didn't see who it was, but go ahead. Whoever the
It
lady
was me, Mika.
Okay, go ahead, Mika.
No,
Oh,
I
hey,
was
Mika.
gonna just I was just gonna speak on your list. I thought your list was pretty reasonable. I didn't see anything that wasn't normal on your list. I think your list is pretty normal. Nothing about it seems domesticated to me at all. And I think sometimes women hear that word domestic and think like, oh, a housewife. I didn't get that impression. I can see if you kind of said like, I want all my children to be homeschooled, and then that would kind of give me the signal that you're looking for a housewife. But
right.
I think on your list, the woman on your list could work or not work. But being that you want children, then that would, put your list in a certain range as well. But when you have this list, how soon do you discuss this list with whoever you're potentially dating?
I don't know if I ever really I just create this list, and I don't know if I ever really discuss it. I think like now that I have it, and I feel like having this list is helping me because I feel like it kind of like it makes what I
Right.
want definitive and it puts it at the forefront of my mind. So I think when I'm vetting women, I kind of have this list in my mind. I'm just kind of, as I'm speaking to a woman,
Right.
I'm kind of like able to kind of suss out, would she be a good fit for me and what I want, So I don't know if
Right.
what I think like when we're talking about like family stuff, I should at some point start to have those conversations. And I understand because,
Mhm.
I think that may be an important conversation to have. And I
Well,
don't know
I
what
think you
Mhm.
said your top 5 was definitive for the most part. So
Top
I don't
10.
see why what was it? The top what?
My
6?
top 10 is
Oh,
definitive. Yeah.
I thought the other ones were changed, like you were flexible on them.
The bottom 5 I'm flexible on. The top
Yeah,
10
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not that flexible on.
Oh, the top 10. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like someone who's attractive, that's like I can't bend on that.
Okay.
Like someone who knows how to take care of the home, I can't bend on it. Somebody who's faithful, I can't bend on it. I can bend on the children. I can bend on like if somebody's like black or conscious. I can bend on somebody who financially is not there. I can bend on somebody who doesn't wear
Mhm.
natural hair, and I can bend on the height. Like those I'm flexible on, but the top 10 I'm not flexible on. So you think different now that the top 10 is non-flexible?
I mean, to me, like if you were dating someone, it would be good to have that discussion
Right.
because no one has to waste their time.
Mm-hmm.
So if the person knows you're not bendable on those top options and they know they don't fit that, then that could just be a lot of months that you don't even have to waste time to try to
Right.
figure out if that person is like that.
Right. Absolutely.
I'd also add to bump up one's children up more because that's really something that I see as like a movement, not the child-free movement. People are not having children.
Mm. Yeah, I feel like I have noticed that. I think you muted Jennifer, but yeah. Okay, yeah. For me though, I feel like the reason why it's not higher for me is because the other things I feel like just are more important. Like if I don't have children, I'm not gonna like, I'm not gonna like I wouldn't feel like my life was a waste because I feel like there's other ways to build legacy.
Okay.
That's kind of why I put once children / build legacy, because I can adopt children, I can be fine. I can be an older man mentoring younger men and just leaving a legacy that way, and I can be fine. But that's why it's not higher for me. But I think you do have a solid point. I feel like I do run across a lot of people who say things like, I can't bring children to this world with the way things are. So a lot of people have that mindset. So yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, like going off of the previous woman's point is, so you don't waste each other's time. If that's really something that's important to you, then
Right.
that's probably like
So a conversation I want to have early is about children. Yeah.
yeah.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
Good point. So the question I ask myself is, do I qualify for what I want? I think in some respects I do. I mean, I think everybody has some work that they need to do. I know that I feel like I can lose some weight. I feel like I'm about 30 pounds overweight. I feel like I can use some therapy. I feel like I can be selfish at times. I feel like I can be pretty demanding. I mean, as my list kind of shows. But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a question we have to ask ourselves, because we can want something all day, but we really have to, ask ourselves, like, do we qualify for what it is that we want? I think that's it. Okay. So yeah, the question I'm asking everybody here is, what are you looking for? And do you have a list? Or if you want to comment on somebody who hasn't had a chance to kind of comment on the presentation, if you want to make a comment on presentation, you can do that too. But let's see here. Let's stop the screen share. PJ, we're gonna get you. I see you raise your hand. As a matter of fact, we'll do it that way. If you want it, when you want to get in, raise your hand and we'll let you in. So stop share. Let's see here. Okay, we're back. PJ.
Yo,
Go for it, brother. How you doing, man?
I kind of just had like a question, just a thought that I had. As the presentation was going on, and just know what the topic was. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people have made their list or thinking about what could be on their list. When do you need those things on your list in order to Like, do you need it before the relationship starts? Or is it something, is like a journey that you all go on? So
I see
you
what
kind
you're
of
saying.
mentioned like some simple examples would be like, be it physically fit. I know I'm not physically fit, but I know something that I am working on. But I know for some people when they're dating, they have like this certain image in their head of like, I'm looking for this kind of guy or this kind of person, right? And so they could be missing out on some great people if they only have this one image in their mind, as opposed to saying like, okay, this could be a journey that this person can be on. You can support them in that or not. You can make the choice. It's up to you. Or even like finances, right? A lot of people are generational wealth. That's like a big term nowadays. But some people just aren't there yet to establish that. Establishing generational wealth is a journey. So, you know, are those things that you need before a relationship starts, or is it kind of like a journey that you both kind of commit to going on? I know it's different for other people, like
Right. Yeah. Right. I agree. I think it's going to be different for other people. And I'll answer, and I'll let Sioux folks raise their hand. I know they want to respond to that. For me, I'm 35, and from how old are you, PJ? Say that again.
30.
30. Okay. 5 years younger. From my experience, people rarely change. So for me, I want to be okay with the person. Like when I first meet them, I have to be okay with what's there. So like if I feel like I meet somebody and they're a great person, but their weight is too much for me, I can't go into the situation. I'm not going to go into the situation hoping that person would change. I have to, for me, I'm going to say, okay, this is the person, this is who they are. And I have to accept that. And if I'm not okay with the person where they're at when I meet them, then I have to, I have to let that person go. This is for me personally. This is what I've come to where I'm at in my life. Like I need a person to be what I need. I mean, there's some things that I'm flexible on, but for the most part, like I'm marriage minded. So I want to be married. And like, I just can't, I don't have time to wait for somebody to change to fit what's on my list. I want them to kind of be there already. And then once they're there, then we can build on top of what it is that we're trying to do. But for me personally, I don't have a time frame on wanting somebody to change. I'm looking for somebody who's kind of more or less there already. And I want to be okay with where that person's at. So I think Brandy had her hand raised initially, and then Jennifer. So Brandy, if you want to cut in real quick. I think Mika also had her hand raised as well. Brandy.
I didn't mean to raise my hand at the time. I'm sorry, I'm new to this, but
Okay,
just
you're fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you want to give your list next?
I can definitely do that.
Okay. So we'll let people respond to PJ's question. Jennifer, go ahead.
No, I wanted to respond to your sentiment about people rarely change.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that so often, but
Mm-hmm.
I do see things to the contrary because we're changing all the time. I mean, humans are so influenceable. Like just social media, we completely changed, from before social media was a thing to how it is now, and we've changed our etiquette and culture, and it's the ability to change, though, like recognizing someone's journey where they were before and where they are now. I think that's something to look to as well, to see how people, that potential, right? Because I think that's something that's
Okay.
substantial, to recognize someone's past growth,
Right.
where they were before, where they are now, because it indicates further growth and further change. And so I think sometimes when we get a little too rigid with our ideologies, like that whole, because I've heard that a lot. People rarely change.
Real quick, Jennifer, because we got a lot of people trying to get in. But what's your top 2 things on your list for what you want? Just real quick.
Curiosity. I don't like a lazy mind.
Okay, so let's say you meet a guy, right, and he has a lazy mind. Will you give him a chance, or you just hope that he changes?
Well, that is a really big inflexible point for me, because I'm
Right.
just curious.
So maybe you brought up a good point. So maybe for my inflexible options, PJ, maybe for me, like I'm not hoping and wanting those things to change, but for my flexible ones, I may give somebody a little bit more time and wiggle room. But let's go. Brittany, you had your hand up next. Brittany Woods, and then Sadie. Go ahead, Brittany.
Hi. Okay, so I actually just had a question about what you said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You said something about, do you qualify for these things on your list? What do you mean by that?
I think it's going to be different for everybody. Like, let's say, okay. Okay, so let's go back to that initial slide where I was talking about like the what people like want and value. So let's say if I'm below average looking guy and I want an above average looking woman, I have to realize that above average looking women aren't necessarily looking for below average looking guys. So I think we have to be realistic with ourselves on what it is that the opposite sex wants. And if you're a guy and you want a certain woman who's used to a certain lifestyle and certain status, and you can't provide that, I think you have to look at yourself and figure out, like, do you qualify? So that's kind of more or less what I meant. Okay. Sadie, go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. This was for PJ, correct? And that asked question about what if a person has, so you're looking, if a person has the personality, let's say they have the personality, they have a lot of the inner qualities that you're looking for, but the outer appearance may not be the attractiveness of the person may not be everything. But so it's like you have to be sure that what you're looking for, like if you're an older person, yeah, I mean, I think for me, let me say that over, because I think the first thing that draws you to a person is the attractiveness. You have to be attractive to the opposites. That's to even want to get to know them.
Brandy's like she in church. Brandy clapping like she in church.
Yeah, so it's like I think that's what you're saying on your list. It's just like you're Nick, right? Are you Nick or just a firefighter? I'm trying to see what to call you here.
Oh, Cardo. You can call me Cardo. Yeah.
Okay, Cardo. And so for me, it's like, and just like you're saying, it's your attraction to the person. Like to say, first impressions. That's what I'm a key person on the first impression. When I first meet you, that's what's going to stand in my mind about you. The way you look, the way you act, the way you talk, the way you entreated me. Those things will stick in my mind about a person that I meet of the opposite sex. So yes, they could be a good person, but like I say, if the attraction is not there from the physical, then you're not going to tend to too much look into the mental status of a person, because you're first looking at the superficial part. So for me, is this, and this is what I look at. Okay, you may be attracted to me. I may be attracted to you, but I want to get to know you as a person. If we become friends and we get to just know you as a person, that gives me time to really know if you are the person that I want to get a little bit closer to as far as relationship, because first friendship is important. You can meet someone that's beautiful, shape is there, curves there, muscles is there, but you got to see that part, but then go beyond that to say, okay, well, let's just get to know each other on a friendship level, because just because that person is everything superficial, don't mean that they're going to be everything as a whole person. So we have to be careful that we don't let the attraction lead us too far into something before we're ready to really commit, because you can get hurt that way. Because you're looking for a person, you see this beautiful woman or this handsome man, he's everything. He got the muscles, she has everything from the package on the outside. And you put in your heart, okay, this is what I'm looking for. But as you get to know that person, there's, like I said, the list begins to, you begin to check off the list or put no's by certain things that are meaningful to you. Like they don't have that faithfulness. They're not willing to be faithful. They're not willing to be, they're not into the housekeeping. They ain't into the children. They're not into some of the things that means the most to you. So I think, we have to be careful that we don't be so much attracted to the attraction of the outer appearance of the person that we neglect the source of what's going to keep us together. Because I can like you, you can like me, you can like my curve, you can like my thickness, and I can like your muscles and your height. But as we get to know each other on a personality basis, then I begin to see the real you. And that can cause a beautiful person to be pretty on the outside, but when they get to talking to you and get to talking to you crazy or saying things that are disrespectful, that pretty face begins to look a little bit ugly. So we have to, I think, yes, appearance is important, but I also agree that you have to try to know what's in the inside of a person's heart, what are their goals, who are they? That's why, who are you? You a fine young man, but who are you? That's pretty much what I wanted to say about that.
Great
Thank you.
commentary, Sadie. So
You're
I
welcome.
just gave my list, and I'm a guy. Let's try to get a girl in here to share her list if she wants to share. And for the sake of time, and we have a lot of people in here, y'all, and I want to hear from everybody, or try to hear from everybody. Let's try to keep our commentary, let's say less than 2 minutes, just so everybody can kind of get in there. Okay. Any lady, let's get a hand raise if you want to share your list. So no judgment zone. So don't be scared. Brandy, I think Brandy. Oh no, Jennifer.
Randy could go first.